Well, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon / evening. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about using FamilySearch for Jewish research. This is also, I've also entitled it at times, What's New at FamilySearch, because this is indeed updated daily. In fact, you'll see a couple things that you may have to wait a day or two to use just because they're that new, and it might be a day or two before you can get full access, but I wanted you to see them regardless. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about using FamilySearch, obviously, and how we can use it. First, I'm going to discuss, let's see if I can get my screens to start advancing here. There we go. We advanced. So what are we going to discuss today? We're going to talk about what is FamilySearch. We're going to talk about the book section, the wiki, digitized records, and records. And I might throw a couple of other things in. And when I say the book section and the others, it's because they're really not utilized the way they should be. And I think it can be something very helpful in your own personal research. So let's start with what is FamilySearch. FamilySearch was founded a little over 125 years ago. It was known as the Genealogical Society of Utah. That is actually the picture of the second building that it moved into. It's the family history library as it is today is about the 10th building. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. We are dedicated, what we state to the world is we are dedicated to preserving the records of mankind. Currently, FamilySearch, which is the website version of the Family History Library, contains over 8 billion names from all parts of the world. And that not only is available in the Family History Center, and in your homes free of charge, but it's also available in almost 5,200 family search centers worldwide. I assure you there's probably one in your neighborhood that you may not even know about. So you can go online to FamilySearch and find the closest one. They, like us, are kind of closed now because of COVID, but when they reopen, you can also use those to acquire records, to go and do your research. If you find a local center close to you, they can work with us and make it available, whatever you might need to access. And I'm also going to show you in a few minutes how you can access some of that stuff now, even with the COVID going on. Here's a few facts, and this is updated. This is as of December 2020, but this was just released a few days ago. We have 8.3 billion searchable names, 4.3 billion digital images, 3,000 searchable historical record collections, and I'm going to go into those in a minute. I love those. Almost 500,000 digital books now available on FamilySearch. And that, whenever I say that, a lot of people just give me this funny look. It's not even known by most people, but it's a great tool. And as you can see, there's a lot of other things there. You can now do photos and stories and all that. Over 1.7 billion sources in the FamilySearch family tree. So it's quite elaborate. So I want to talk to you about RootsTech real fast. This is something that I threw this in here because I think it's important for you to know about. RootsTech starts this week. It starts, for the most part, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, some Wednesday. RootsTech we started it 11 years ago. This is the 11th year. It's a family history conference. We wanted to bring all the family historians together from around the world. This year, it's virtual, as you can imagine. Last year was our biggest year. We had 35,000 people come to Salt Lake City. This year, because it's virtual, we wanted it to be available to everyone. So it's completely free of charge in a virtual environment. So far, we have almost 350,000 people registered. So it's quite a gathering. And what's incredible about this is, yes, there will be some live presentations that first day, some keynotes and so forth. But after that, all of the presentations are available free of charge for 1 year. So you can go on at will and just watch. If you're looking about Polish research or Caribbean research or whatever, you can go on and see those classes and get more of a one-on-one by watching them at your own leisure. So I would encourage all of you to go and register for it. It's free. It's in your home, and you have a year to watch it. So it's just an incredible thing. Some of the classes will be taught in the native language. We have quite a few of those coming through. So it's a great opportunity to participate in a lot of presentations that you might not be able to get to otherwise. So let's move on to books. Now, FamilySearch books. The current Family History Library was opened in 1985, and the current Family History Library probably didn't have enough room in 1985. So we began the process many years ago to start digitizing as many records as we could and digitizing as many books as we could, just to make more and more room. Now, I will point out, so a lot of the books and such got taken off the shelves in the library. As we digitized them, we'd remove them from the shelf. We still had them available where you could have them brought in, but just trying to make more and more room. Well, what the Family History Library has been able to accomplish during this COVID environment is we have just about finished with a complete remodel of the Family History Library. So for those of you who have been in the library, when you come back, you're going to notice a complete change to where we have now increased the amount of books we can have. So we have tens of thousands of more books than we had before. And so we also have map cases and all this kind of thing. So we've made it more, so it's available for more records, easy access right there. Well, as part of the books, when we started scanning the books in, we realized that this was something that should be done more, make more books available. So what we did is we started in with our partners and we started compiling all these books that are now digital. So if you go to the FamilySearch website, which looks just like this, this is the front page. And I'm going to take care of a question here. I always, whenever I don't explain this, I get a million questions on this. Not that I have any problem with that, but this is one of the front pages of FamilySearch. The picture you see may be different because it kind of rotates through like about 10 pictures. I had this sweet lady just argue with me for 20 minutes that she wanted to see the same FamilySearch I use because her picture was different than mine. So please know, it doesn't matter what the picture is, it's the same FamilySearch, okay? But right up there at the top where it's got the search tab, if you go to that search tab and hit it, you'll notice that down near the bottom of the list, it says books. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm just going to show you for a minute or two, because I think that explains exactly what's here. So if you click on the books, it takes you to this page, which is the FamilySearch Digital Library. And you can see there's 3 of our partners right there: Allen County Public Library in Indiana, the Arizona State Library, and the Birmingham Public Library. That's as many as I could fit on without shrinking the screen down so small you couldn't see it. But there are dozens of libraries that have all added to this to make digital books available. There are almost 500,000, and it's going up quickly, so it will be over 500,000 pretty soon. But all I did in that search bar in front of you, I just typed in the words Jewish family records. And is every book that comes up going to be for Jewish family records? Not necessarily. It's using the 3 keywords. So you may have some that aren't even Jewish that would be at the end of the list, and they'll just be because they were tagged with family and records. But for the most part, they're inclusive. So I typed that in, and it comes up like this. And you'll notice using those search terms, there's 47,000 that came up. And these are actually digitized books. Now, is every one of them available to view at home? And the answer is no. We can only do it when we have the copyright permissions and so forth. Why do we put them on here if we don't necessarily have all the copyright permission? One, it may be in one of the libraries on the shelf so that you know about it. But the key is because it gives you all the information about who published it, when it was published, who the author was, that you might be able to use that information and go to your own public library or so forth. So we want to make sure you are aware of the record, aware of the book, and so you had the information to go and look at it. In fact, on this page, you'll notice 2 of them say they're public and 1 says protected. So you can go there and you can view them. And so what happens if I click on one, and I apologize, for some reason today it is just cleared out. It turned out to be a little hazy on this one, but I'll go to another screen in a second so you don't have to look at it. But it comes up and it tells you where that book is. And right now it's at the Sacramento, California FamilySearch Library. However, it is publicly available, so we've scanned it and it's in here. So instead of driving to Sacramento to see it, you can view it online. Here's another one that's not as fuzzy. So this says on this particular book, if you want to view all 326 pages, you click right there. Now, one of the added benefits of this is if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, you can go here and view these 24 hours a day. And if you really would like to sleep, you can pick some of the topics that may help you do that. That's all I'm saying. But if you click on that, it actually takes you to the front page of the book. And where that arrow is on the right, as you click there, it'll just move you page by page through that book. Some of the books, just like any book, some of them have an index at the beginning, some have it at the end. So if you need to, you can flip all the way to the back, look in the index, look for your family, see where that, and go back to those pages. So, but it's all available right here. And I always put this one up for Janice, just so she knows we think about her. Here's a great book about the Jewish history of Oregon. And you notice in the center, it's got US Oregon H2S. That's the call number from the Family History Library. Just showing you what used to be on the shelf and is back on the shelf, but what used to be on the shelf has now been digitized so that you can read it at home. In this environment we're in right now, and hopefully we're not in this much longer, it's a great opportunity to continue your research until everything starts reopening. So that's all I'm going to show on the books. I did want to point out one thing, and I should have said it right at the beginning. The very last slide in this presentation has my email address. And I put that there for a reason. And that reason is use it if you have any questions. I have no problem with you using my email and contacting me. So at the end, you'll see that. And again, Janice is going to record this, so you'll have that. So let's go now. Let's move over to records. This is my favorite part, just because obviously we all love to look at the records. When you go to Family Search, and here's that front page again, and we're going to go up to the search button and we're going to click on records. It's so simple. And this is where it takes us. This is the front of the search screen for the records collection. There are two ways to really start your search here. The first way is right in here and just putting your names in, your family name. Now, when I do my own searches, I always like to put in as little information as I have or need to. Usually I start with just a name, not even a location or anything. Because if you have a family that is from a certain place and you put in that exact name of the location, if the computer doesn't realize that's what you're looking for, it may just not, it may just say, oh, we don't have any results, even though maybe the next town, next in Poland, the next town over or something. So I like to put them all in to get all the results. However, if you have a common name, that could involve, having a sack lunch and planning on staying a few days. With 8 billion names in the tree, a common name sometimes can be. So I like to start with little and then build up. Okay, I know a birth year, I'll put that in. I know, where they were living and so forth. And I like to narrow it down that way. But some people just like to put in the name and just have fun. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The second way is with the historical collections. Now, what is a historical collection? Well, first off, to get there, we go to right here on that same page down at the bottom. The historical collections are the collections that we are actively indexing so that they're all name searchable with the original record. If you go into the catalog and you do the other ones, you don't always see the original record. You're just saying you see an index name. But these are the original records. And if you click on where it says browsed all public collections, it will bring up a list of all those. And there are now 3,020. But it'll bring up an alphabetical list. And I did not include the alphabetical list, but believe me, it starts with Alabama. I didn't know how many of you had Alabama family. I took a risk that you didn't. But if you click up there at the top right where it says last updated, if you click on that, it brings them in order by whatever the last database that had records added to it was. Okay. This I updated on Sunday. Was it Sunday? Saturday. I updated this slide to show you That entire page of records right there was updated on Saturday. So they're updated daily. Last week, I think we had about 7 million records added, because that's just what it is every week. We're adding and adding it. So in this case, you have Virginia County marriage records, 1771 to 1943. And the title of it is something that usually comes from the archive. It's got that title because these are literally marriage records from the various county offices in the state of Virginia. Is it a complete collection? Probably not. We're adding to them daily. Some of them, you'll see some of the older collections, I'll show you one or two in a minute, haven't been updated since 2013. Those are probably complete sets and, won't be added to further. But all these you see, and you see the amount of records in each one of these individual collections, there's quite a few, over 1 million records. And depending on what it is, some of them could have 20 records per page, or 20 names per page. So you're talking about some big databases. So if we go to that first one, Virginia County marriage record, let me do one thing before I say that. At the beginning of the collection name, you'll see they all have a camera. The camera means that the original records are included. So you'll be looking at the original records, and I'll show them to you in just a second. Sometimes you'll also see a piece of paper behind that, which means they have also been indexed. Now, all of these you see here have been partially indexed, but the indexing isn't complete. The Virginia County marriage records I know have been indexed, because that's how I found the exact record I'm showing you. So Virginia County marriage records, I just typed in the name Cohen. I always type in the exact same name because, and I know you're saying there's 1 million Cohens. However, you can tell the quality and the size of a database if you use the same surname. If I go to a database and I type in Cohen and there's 100,000, if I go to another database and type in Cohen and there's 10, maybe that second database is not as complete yet. That's the reason I do it that way. In fact, in the Virginia marriage records here, there were 7 Cohens listed. But when I typed it in, this is one that came up. And here's Ezra, married to Melba Roll. He's a merchant from Carroll County, Maryland. His father's Charles, mother Mary, with her maiden name. Gives his address, and then it gives Melba and her father Samuel and mother Emma and her address, and then it gives you the name of the rabbi who performed the wedding down there at the bottom. But that's a pretty nice record that comes from the Virginia county offices. And all these Virginia records, by the way, are brand new. I don't know if you have Jewish families in Virginia, but we're just now loading those because there was a change in the legislative actions that made it so these records are available. They wanted to make them not available, but some people went and said no and fought it, and they have made them available. So we're going to get a lot of archive records out of Virginia. That's why this was at the very top of the just updated list. But there's the marriage record from the county record. So it's not the marriage certificate, but it's what they have in their database. If you want the marriage certificate, you have to go to another Virginia database and click on it, and there's the actual marriage certificate for the same family. All the information's the same and so forth, but that's the actual marriage certificate from the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's a great record. It gives you all the maiden names and everything. I love these records. So that's one of the brand new ones, one of the newest ones. I want to show you a few more, and I like to call this making the world a little smaller. And ideally, that's what we're doing with our family history. By bringing in more and more records, we're trying to make this world a little smaller, make it a little easier that we can acquire these. So I want to give you a few examples. Now, here's one when I said it hasn't been updated for a while. These are all the databases in there from South Africa. And the one that I have the arrow on says it was last updated on the 11th of July, 2013. And 200,000 records. So that's probably a complete collection because it's been a while since it was updated. So if I go there and I'm looking for my family, here I have the marriage record for Barney and Essie. Gives the date of the marriage, 6 September 1936, their names, their ages, where they were born. He was a bachelor, she was a spinster, and it's got the various information down at the bottom. You see it's got the name of the minister who performed it, the rabbi who performed that. and then it shows their names and everything. It's a great source, and these are South African records. Sometimes you have to think through them. I don't have the example here because I took it out because some people, every time it's the same question. One of them's titled "The Records in Zimbabwe," but it's all the years before Zimbabwe was even created. So think about what the record may have been. If you can't find it, think about what it may have been at the time of the record was created or so forth. What else do we have? We have Canadian passenger lists. I heard there was a question about Canadian records. Here's Canadian passenger lists, 1881, 1922, where they're identified as Hebrew. About 2/3 of those, a little more than that, are identified on there as Hebrew. And it includes that. And these are all part of the historical collections where that record is now available in your home. This is one of my favorites, British Newspaper Archive. And I don't have the year on here, but March 18th at Hamburg, Julius Cohen, Esquire, of Leeds, England, to Matilda, the youngest daughter of Bernald, easy for me to say, Jacobi, Esquire of Hamburg. Here's a wedding that took place in Hamburg, and by a young woman from Hamburg and a man from Leeds, England. And where do you find the record? You find it in the British Newspaper Archive. So that's why I like to leave the names open, because if I had searched, I just want Hamburg, I probably would have found this, but maybe not. So there's a great place. I'm guessing that if you have family from Hamburg, 95% of you will not turn first to the British Newspaper Archives. But there it is. Okay, now I'm going to show you the one I want, the next one. And this has always been one of my favorites, and I'm not showing it yet because I'm trying to figure out how to word this. This is that extra special feature you get for being here today. This is something that if you travel a lot, I'm guaranteeing you that your various travel websites will not give you this kind of information, but it's important to have. Here is the records. It's the collection is called China's Cemetery Records, 1820 to 1983. This is actually Hong Kong. And these are a record made when the cemetery was moved and all the burials were interred and moved to a new place. And can you see why it's important to have this record? The first three people on that record all died in the Shamrock Hotel. If any of you are going to be traveling to Hong Kong anytime soon, I'm just saying, think about your reservation at the Shamrock Hotel before you get too carried away. Because the first three there all died at the Shamrock Hotel. And I know, by the way, that hotel is still open because I had someone tell me they stayed there when they saw I showed this to them, and they started laughing and said, well, that's where I stayed. Thanks for letting me know. But this is a great record. If you have family in Hong Kong, what better way, you know? Now, the next one is one that a lot of people give me a funny look, more than just normal. But this is in the Barbados church records. I know, why are we looking for our Jewish family in the church records? A couple of reasons. First off, in many countries, for example, Poland, the church in Poland, the Catholic Church is responsible for the recording of birth, marriage, and death because it was the government religion. England, it's the Church of England. Germany, you get Lutheran records. Because even though it doesn't mean your family were anything other than of the Jewish faith, they still had that responsibility to record the births, marriages, and deaths. So you can find your family in both records sometime, the synagogue record and the government record. Well, there still is no reason why this record should be here. This is Barbados Church Records, 1637 to 1887. It's quite a large collection, but there's about between 6 and 10 pages of this that, to use a modern term, it looks like someone cut and pasted them out and stuck them in the middle of this collection. These are the only records that I can find this early from the Jewish community in Barbados. These are from 1778 through 1783. So this entire page and about a half a dozen others are records of the deaths in the Jewish community. And they're absolutely incredible. If you go down about halfway, you'll see there's 4 deaths on the 10th of October, 1780. And it gives their ages, 54, 3, 13, and 25. So like the first one where he's 48, I mean, that's putting back to a 1732. How's that for math in your head? 1732 birth. These are some incredible records. Why would 4 people have died on that day? Well, it just happens if you go into the history books. It's one of the 10 deadliest hurricanes in history. Hit Barbados. 20 to 30,000 people died. So, but those records, I don't know who did it. I don't know who found them and put them in that collection. You know, someday we'd all like to give them a hug for doing so. But everything else in that collection is Church of England. I don't know why they're there, but I'm glad they are. So a few other ones. Here's Argentina. This is the 1869 census of Argentina. And you can see that the first family, the first 5 people there are listed as Israelite. So they identify them by religion. Here is Louisiana passenger list. Again, available online for free at FamilySearch in the historical records. And this is interesting. I love this one because it's the 3rd person down, Moses Cohen. This is actually one record just cut in half and put above and below so that you can read it. It would be impossible to fit it on. But he's listed as Hebrew. His last permanent residence was in Panama, and his nationality, it says, from Cyprus. So, you know, it's a great record. You may not think, okay, a family in Cyprus, but they were also in Panama. Where am I going to find them? You may not think right out the bat of New Orleans, but there they are. Now, one reason I am thrilled to be here today, so if any of these names pop out, I expect an email. My own Jewish family, their first residences in the United States were in San Francisco. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love going to San Francisco and looking for my family. Well, so my great-great-grandfather, who I started researching when I was 12 years old, he had 6 sisters, no brothers, 6 sisters. My grandmother, who was his granddaughter, used to always say that's the reason he fled Poland. He had 6 sisters and no brothers, but you know, I don't know that. But he arrived here early. He arrived in the U.S. through New York in 1851. Well, he had these sisters, and 2 of the sisters married brothers. And the family, the brothers they married were the Osers, and the Osers all ended up in San Francisco as well. Well, I'm just doing some research on one of them one day, and I found this picture. This is Harry Jonas Oser, and it even gives his address in San Francisco. This is a Brazil immigration record. He was only in Brazil for about 3 weeks, and it's when his ship was coming back from Europe, and he just happened to have 3 weeks he laid over in Brazil. And I don't know what he was doing there, if he was just had to wait for the next ship or whatever, but he and his wife were on the ship. So he was born in 1885. This is a 1953 record, and it's just that 3 weeks that he was in Brazil, they got all this information, and it even includes his parents' names. There's his parents, Morris and Rose Oser. He was an engineer, and he lived on 2539 Larkin in San Francisco. I would never have thought to look for him in Brazil. And it's funny because you can also see the one of his wife, and there's a couple other family members, and I think he was there the longest. He was there 3 weeks. Incredible records. This happens to be the only picture I have of him. And obviously he and I have the same barber, but you know, it was a treasure to find it. So look everywhere, anywhere they could have been. And then Jewish records, non-Jewish records, government, whatever it may be, if there's any chance that they crossed that path, look in those records. Now, when you get into the historical collections, a lot of them, like the Virginia record, showed you an index to the marriage and showed you the certificate. Here's ones from Spain. We have an entire collection of records that cover from 1509 to 1947. This is the 1920 census. And you'll notice that the family listed there, you have the whole family, the Cohen family, gives the name of the person, gives the year of the birth, and so forth. Well, if you take one step further and go back one census before this, 1908, there's the same family. They've added the name Toledano to the end of it, and you have him and his wife and the two children, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And if you take it one step further to the 1904 census, this is right before they married, so there she is living with her father. So you put them all together and you can slowly build that family tree with incredible dates and so forth. So the library's closed right now. We wanted to make it available for people. We wanted to be able to give people help. So we have started what we call consultations. Now, what this is this gives you the opportunity to go in and sign up to work with an expert in wherever you're looking for your research and so forth. 20 or 30-minute consultation. It's very simple. See, this is why everything's brand new. This website may not work until Roots Tech starts Wednesday. If you're lucky, you'll have no problem with it. The Family History Library now has its own website as part of FamilySearch. So you can click on it and it takes you to what we have at the Family History Library. And if you go to that bottom right-hand corner where it says Research Consultations, click on that. And it takes you to this screen. You need to get more information about it, or you can go in and sign up for one. If you go in and hit that green button that says Schedule Now, it takes you to this page where you can just slowly work through where I need my help. If I need European records, if I click on that, then it's going to list the countries for Europe. And it's going to narrow it down to where you can get the help you want. And you can do this every 2 weeks. They ask you to do it every 2 weeks because we do have a lot of demand on it. But every 2 weeks, you can sit down just like we are now on this call and go over your personal research. And the nice thing about this, when you schedule your appointment, you put in whatever information you know on that ancestry. You know, I need help in Poland. This is what I know. I know this birth, this town, whatever. And it gives whoever is going to help you, to work with you, gives them an opportunity to go into the FamilySearch collection and see what we can find. And maybe we can find a record and say, hey, what do you think here? Look at this, looks like the right person. And, you know, if we do, obviously we just share them, those records with you, but it gives us a chance to work together and say, okay, are we on the right path or not? But this is a great opportunity for free help and so forth. So I just threw that in the middle because I didn't want to forget it. But it's amazing how many people have taken advantage of this. Even after we reopen, there's been nothing announced yet. But it is my thought that this will continue in some form because it's been so successful. So where we go now? Let's go to the Research Wiki. Here's another one that not many people have used. A lot have used, but not like they should. Let's put it that way. So if we go back to that title page and we hit that search button, and I left that shot out of here, but if you hit that search button, at the bottom of the list, it says Research Wiki. So we're going to go to that, and this is the title page of the Research Wiki. It has 95,000 articles. I updated this one about an hour and a half ago. 95,000 articles about everything family history related. Are these done by FamilySearch people? No, this is done by the entire genealogical community worldwide. So what makes that so nice is if you're looking for a little tiny town, wherever it may be, you may also have people from that town working in here to build the wiki for that. And so I've heard of many occasions where people go in there and they'll look for something and they'll see a comment about, oh, you might find this or this, and they contact the person, and the next thing you know, they're talking to cousins. It's an incredible way to get attached to and find those people who are in that area. So if we want to search here on the center there where it says, let me backtrack. There's two ways to search this. You can see the map, like Europe's in kind of a bluish color. I only say kind of because one day someone told me that on their computer it was totally different. So on mine, it's blue. But if you click on Europe, it brings up the countries that are part of that in the wiki. And I want to look at Austria. So I'm clicking on Austria and it brings up the provinces. You know what? I really want Vienna. So I click on Vienna and it takes me right to the Vienna, Austria genealogy page. Now, when you go into the wiki and you see this, on the far right there, you'll see Austria Wiki topics. every page you go on is going to be different because we only put the heading, the record type, if we have a record or a description of a record or something for that topic. So for example, you see the one that says civil registration. If we didn't have anything in Austria for civil registration, you wouldn't see that. It means there's a topic in there, means you can go there and research. Now you'll notice you have the blue and the purple boxes. I will get back to those in a minute, but those are very important here. And they'll be on all the pages, but I'll get back to those in just a moment. So this is just the very top part of the Austria or the Vienna Austria genealogy page. And as you go down further, here's more down the page. And notice down at the bottom, it starts giving you the websites where records from Austria and Vienna are. And what that is it is a link to the website for those records. Now, as you get into these, you'll see some of them with a $sign. It means it may be a pay site. If it's an ancestry site or so forth, you'll see a $sign because you have to have an account, a paid account for the most part. But we try to work with everyone and we have all kinds of ancestry, MyHeritage, Jewish Gen, JRI Poland, all of those in here, where we just direct you, hey, if the best place for you to be for this work is JRI Poland, we take you to that link and take you there. So it works you there. It's kind of a nice way to centralize all the research, okay? So if you click that blue button in the center, it takes you to list all localities, and it will just list them alphabetically, and you can go right down and decide what you want. So so you can click on any country. Then I want to go back to this. So this is the page for Illinois, okay? And am I the only one hearing the phone ringing? I have no phone in this room, for the record. If you go back to this page here for Illinois research, and it's those two boxes I talked about a minute ago. Illinois online genealogical records, and the purple one says ask the community. So if I click on the one that says Illinois online genealogical records, it shows this. This is a list of all the Illinois databases by topic, and you can just click on them and go right to the direct link. So you don't have to sit there and Google and say, okay, what's available in Illinois, and hopefully get them all. You'll notice some of them have $signs, like under marriages, the very first one has a $sign. That means it's a paid site. Okay, it's about halfway down that first column. The ones that don't have it, it's just a link that takes you right to that database. So you can get there. Now, these are available all over the world. Here's the start of the list just for the US, and that we have them by all countries. So you can do just like we did Vienna, you can go on for Vienna or whatever, you can narrow it down. So you have that ability to do those and go into that record. But now one other thing you can do through the wiki is if you go here, this is really new. This is guided research. And what is it? It's exactly what it sounds like. You go in there, if you're new in an area, it's new to you researching, or maybe you just want a little help, you can click on guided research and it takes you to this. This was updated today. This is hot off the press. And you can see the countries that are available right now. And what it does, you click on one of those countries, you can actually go right through the research process. You can say, I have a birth record that says this, what do I do next? And it will guide you through the process of where you might want to look, what that record may help you find. This is just really developing now, but it's been helpful to a lot of people. So it can get in there and then you can walk through your records. And you'll notice that there's a lot of languages coming on board now as well. There's about 10 listed at the bottom. Just in the last week, FamilySearch has gone from 20 to 30 supported languages. So we're doing that as much as we can to get that all available. So this guide research, that's all I'm going to show you on that, because it's really developing, but the US and some of the European countries are really starting to come in to play on that. But let's go back now to that purple box. this is what I think could be very helpful for everyone. So when you push the ask the community, what does that mean? It means exactly that. A community is a group of people who are interested in that same area. So if I click ask the community, here is a list of the FamilySearch genealogical research groups. And you'll notice at the very bottom, I highlighted one, and it's under the FamilySearch community of the Russian Empire. So if I click on that, if I have family there and I need a little help, you click on there and you're getting help from people who either have family there, are researching there, or are experts in that area. You can ask a question. You'll notice on the left, there's some people have added documents and say, can you help me translate this? Can you help? What do I have here? What can I do with it? Where can I go from here? And you have experts all over the world who are in there answering these. So I'm working together. You get into a dialogue and it's just absolutely wonderful. So that's a great thing to do. Another wonderful thing, especially while you're researching from home now, we have, if you type into the Wiki Learning Center, included with the Learning Center, I'm going to the German one here. This is Germany online classes. And down at the bottom, you'll notice that it says German Church and Civil Records. Well, the only reason I'm sending you there is because part of that is the old German script. This is part 3. There's part 1, 2, and 3. And there's all these other classes. You can click on that and you can watch either a 4-minute video or a, almost an hour video of experts who can walk you through learning how to decipher what you're reading. We can't all become experts in every language. And when you have family from all over the world and you try to decide what you're doing, it's just nice to be able to go to a quick lesson where they can walk you through what you're looking at. Even if you only have one word in the document. In this case, it's civil records, or it could be, there's various different kinds of script and so forth. Just a great way to help you research along and decipher what you're seeing. So the last area I want to talk about is the genealogies. Now, no one uses this. How's that for a firm? More and more people are using this. I'm showing you this because I think it's an important thing. A lot of people, an argument I get a lot of time is people don't like to add their own tree to FamilySearch because people can go in there and change it and so forth. If you add your tree to genealogies, the only person who can ever change it is you. And you have such control over it that if you decide a month from now, a year from now that you don't want it on there anymore, it's hit 2 buttons and it's gone. So you have complete control of it. Well, one of the reasons I love genealogy is because it's the home of the Knowles Collection. That is that's Moses David Rosenbaum. That is my Polish great-great-grandfather. He's the one who first arrived in San Francisco. The Knowles Collection started out as my own personal search looking for him. I will be honest, it was completely selfish and all for me. But when I was 12 and first learned I had Jewish family, I'm not going to date myself, although computers weren't around. It was back in the day when you wrote a letter, you made a phone call, you did those kind of things to find family. And slowly, as a 12-year-old kid, you can't really drive to the local synagogue to get help or whatever. So it went a little slow, but then as it started building and building, the first place he went after he left Poland was to England. And I have his journals. And he doesn't always talk a lot, but what he talks about when he got to England, and he was only in England maybe 6 weeks, if we're lucky, 8 weeks. But he talks about when he got there were 2 families that really helped him get around because he didn't speak English. And that was the Benjamin family and the Samuel family. Well, the one thing he didn't do is he didn't tell us which Benjamin family and which Samuel family. And if you've looked in even a London phone book lately, you'll realize there's thousands. So I started research. By the way, I should tell you, my 2 oldest sons are Benjamin and Samuel now. They're thrilled to know that they're named after unknown families. But I started research, and so I started researching in England and various records like the Morty Collection, which was a database of the Jews of the British Isles. For the time, it was incredible, but it was all before computers, and started building that together. And making everything else come together. Well, I was in England one year, and it was the year we had, I think it was 2000, and I think it was 8. We had the International Jewish Conference in Salt Lake that year. And I was sitting in my hotel room about 3:30 in the morning trying to sleep, getting used to the time change in London. And my phone rang. And apparently none of my coworkers know that there's a time difference, so they were trying to call me. And they said that we're going to make the Knowles Collection available to everyone, or they call it your family records collection, and have it ready for the Jewish conference in Salt Lake City. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll be home in a week or two, and I'll get it for you. And they said, oh no, that's all right. We were able to get into your computer, and we got it. So that's why it has the name Knowles Collection, because I'm not a rocket scientist. So I knew if I hit it under Knowles, I would find it. So that's what I saved it as. Well, they kept the name, and now it's been there so long that it's kind of stuck. But so when we made it available for that conference, it was 7,500 people. Were all in this database. Heavily British Isles, because that's where it started. Well, now from there, today it is 6 databases. Jews of the British Isles, Jews of Europe, North America, the Caribbean, South America, South Pacific, Africa, the Orient, and the Middle East. And fairly soon, Eastern Europe, but that announcement will be coming out soon. But so it's those 6 collections, and instead of 7,500 records, it's now 1.5 million people. And it's 2,500 different sources, 200 different countries. They're all linked as families. It's all name searchable, and it's all free. So how do I find that? That's the question. How do we access this? Now, this part, I will tell you right now, is about 3 days they just changed the appearance of the website. So I will update this probably in the next day or two, and then I will send that to Janice, and so she can update you, but it's still basically the same, but I will update it. So how do you access it? So if you go to that search button, you go down to genealogies, and I want to show you what it looks like now, because the whole intent is to make it easily accessible. So under genealogies, these are some of the databases in there. And under community trees is where it used to be, and that's what it was. Community trees was just all kinds of genealogical trees coming in from around the world. So when you go to the search tab, you go to search genealogies, you can put a name in, and now FamilySearch has just updated everything, so you can actually search by multiple names if you want. But I'm putting a name in, and I'm going down to the database where it says collection, other options, collection, and I'm going to change that to community trees, because that's where it is. So I'm putting in the name Gluckstein. Okay, so that is a very common, it's a very strong, mostly London Jewish family. I don't know if any of you remember the old lion tree or tea houses. This was the family that owned those. But a very common Jewish family in London. So if you click on that, I want to see all the Glucksteins. There are about 450 of them in this collection now. And just the one that's highlighted, that's Samuel Henry Gluckstein, gives you the basic information: birth, marriage, death, where it all took place. His mother, father, spouse, and children are all listed there. Now, if you click on that, so we've taken all the records. I think Samuel has about 30 sources. We put all those together and combined it into a family tree. And so now, instead of just that, this is what it looks like on FamilySearch. That is his part of the Gluckstein family tree. He's in the middle, then it's got his kids. And so there's 6 generations there. And by adjusting the arrows, you can go up or down generations and so forth and all that. Over on the right-hand side, it's a part starts to list the sources. You would have to take it one more and just click on his name at the top of it, and it'll bring up all the sources. The intent is, whereas there are no original records in there, you won't see the marriage certificate, for example. You will see the source that will hopefully take you right to where it is if you want to view it. If this is your family and you want to rebuild the tree with the original documents and not just the source, you can go there and you can get all those. So in this case, it's 6 generations, but it will go expand and go further. Those are all his siblings and so forth. And so it's just a way to bring those Jewish records together. Now, one obvious question, these are not part of the regular FamilySearch family collection. Some of them could be there if they're in a different database. If if they're living in London, you find them in a census, you will find them in the FamilySearch collection under the census. But linked like this, you will not find them anywhere but here. Now, there is a blog that talks about the Knowles Collection, updates it and so forth. knowlescollection.blogspot.com. You're all welcome to read that. That top right-hand corner, and this is what I'll be updating in the next few days, where it says for a step-by-step guide to searching, that should be an arrow pointed to it. But I always try to leave that as the most current way how to access the collection. So that'll be updated in the next day or two, so you can go right to the collection if you want. But please take advantage. It's there so that we can all, I love, it changes daily. We're still adding between 5,000 and 10,000 names a month. We are making all kinds of adjustments. My most common email is, and I get about, let's say 30 or 40 emails a week from people saying, I should have read the one I got this morning, it made me laugh. It said, you have my great grandfather in your tree. You have everything perfectly right, except for you forgot 3 of his siblings. Well, the collection, the record I had didn't have the siblings. So they gave me the siblings to go with it. And that's how most of this is building now, is from records from actual families. So they're sending in their records and saying, please add this to the Knowles Collection. What's nice about that is when that happens, we get permission. And when we get that permission, the source for that information is the person. So we'll put their name and email and so forth. So if you find your cousins or your family in there, you can check that. And you also now have their email where you can start conversing and getting to know family. So it's just a way to bring those records together. So that's the Knowles Collection. So here are the 2 of them together. Here's my email is the top one. The blog is the bottom one. But please, I would love to hear from you. Any questions, please. Any comments about the Knowles Collection, if you want to correct anything, we want to make it as accurate and wonderful as we can. So we love those kind of emails. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. But thank you very much for giving me this hour to be with you. I very much enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Todd, because that was an incredible amount of information. And yes, we do have some questions that came in through chat while we're talking. Let's see. In the book collection, somebody asked, do the books include Rasmussen books on immigration?
The quick answer is we're going to have to go back and type it in and we'll see.
Okay, so you're not
everything we have. I don't know off the top of my head, but everything we have access to, yes.
Are any of the books in the collection handwritten? And if
absolutely,
so, are they scanned?
Yes, we have those. In fact, one of the other things we're doing right now, and it won't happen until probably summer, but we are moving the book scanning department into the basement of the family history library. So it makes it so that we can do those things quicker. We're going to have the materials down there to scan. And in fact, if you come in to visit from out of town and you say, I have this book, but it's my brother's, but I would love a copy, we're going to have the ability for you to go put that on the scanner and leave the library that day with a copy of the book, on a drive or something. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, books are searchable by keyword, correct?
Yes, and you can play with the keywords however you need to.
Okay. For many of the records on FamilySearch, to see the actual image, a lot of times, and I know it's a fairly small proportion, when it says you have to view it at a family history center. So is the consultation one way around that during the present conditions under COVID?
It is. Let me tell you why we are limited by those restrictions. When we first started microfilming records back in 1936, I believe it was, no one had ever heard of digitizing records. That was something way off in the future, So none of our contracts say anything about digitizing records. So what we've had to do is we've had to go back and rework those contracts, renegotiate to add that in. Well, about 5 years ago, maybe a little longer, when we started really digitizing as much as we could, I remember hearing someone say that we're digitizing the records, but they probably won't be finished in our lifetime. Well, I've got news for you. Apparently our lifetime is about here, because every record that we can digitize, we should be done by the end of this year. Now, will they all be available? Not until we get the contract renegotiated, but they will at least be digitized. And so it's a great, and that's, that's 2.5 million rolls of microfilm. So that's moving fast. But yes, so we have restrictions on it. That's why I always encourage people to go sign up for FamilySearch, because one of the restrictions we have, some people, when they either give us the collection or whatever, they'll say, okay, the restriction we have is we only want people who belong to FamilySearch to view it. Well, if you go and just get your free account that takes about 1.5 minutes, you are now a member of FamilySearch and you can view it. So it unlocks some of those things. So, and there are some that we can only show at the Family History Library. That's just the restriction people have put on it. We're working through those, and hopefully we can make more and more available. But yes, so right now there are some you'll have to see just on your local family history center.
Hey, somebody asked about West Virginia making new records available. I suspect the best way to find that out is to go look at the West Virginia genealogy page on the wiki.
In the wiki, yeah, and there should be all the updates there. I know right now Virginia's doing it. I don't know how far it spreads out. It was a group in Virginia of archivists who I don't want to say they brought legal action, but I think they brought it to the attention and threatened it maybe.
Okay, Laura asked if the map for when you do when you were the little blue and purple buttons at the top, and then you go to the map, and then you what area you want. She asked if she assumes the map is for countries' borders as they currently are now.
That's a tricky one, because actually most of FamilySearch is cataloged and developed on the basis of what it was when the record was created. So
is that for the map also, because the map is a visual?
Yeah, the problem is where, some countries obviously have shorter histories than others. You just, to be safe, you need to search it in the catalog or in the wiki by whatever the name has been. If it was a certain name when your family was there, if it just changed borders and became a different country. We had a gentleman in the library, I'll never forget this, who had his grandfather's birth, marriage, and death record, all with the same street address, 3 different countries. So,
have you ever heard the old joke? There's this nice little Jewish man. He was born in one country. He got married in a second country. He died in a third country, and he never left the shtetl.
That's my grandmother.
There you go. There you go. So search for each of them, whatever but usually in the catalog, especially whatever the jurisdiction was at the creation of the record.
So it sounds like if you want to make sure you cover all the bases, only using the map will not necessarily be adequate.
True.
Okay.
Yeah. The map is a way to help guide you through, and I guess one thing I didn't mention also is one thing you'll see a lot more of now that you didn't see in the past. As we make records available and digitized, if you go into the Family History Library catalog and you look for a record, for example, if I go and look for Forden, which is the place where my family came from in Poland, there's a little red link that says, follow this, click on this, and you can see the original records. So it's that's really new, and it's growing fast. So if we have it digitized and it's in the catalog, you'll see a red link. It just says click on it, takes you right to the original record.
Cool. Okay, next question. If you sign up for the free assisted help and it's for a foreign country, would the helpers necessarily speak the language of the country to be able to read records in other languages or alphabets?
Absolutely. In fact, when you sign up, say, I need language help, and it will make sure that it's someone who has language ability and can help you do that. And you can even send in documents ahead of time, and they'll get them go over them for you and then go over them with you when you're on.
So it's
the call.
sitting at the Family Search Library.
Exactly. It's like coming up to the reference counter at the library.
Awesome. Okay, I had a question. When you were talking about genealogies, the way you described it, it sounds like those are individual trees as opposed to the collaborative tree that family tree is, correct?
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay. Somebody asked about uploading a family tree from somewhere else.
It's all done through GEDCOM. So you just download it as a GEDCOM and then upload it into FamilySearch as a GEDCOM.
Okay.
And that's the standard genealogy language. Whatever database you compile your records in, there's probably a tab that says export to a GEDCOM. So.
And I think I saw on the homepage of the genealogies a link to if you want to upload your family tree.
Exactly. And again,
Okay.
those are completely under your control. You can delete it whenever. You're the one who can edit it, so forth.
Okay. I don't know if you actually said this specifically at the tag end there, but someone asked the timeline for completion of digitization of all microfilm.
We should have them all digitized by the end of this year, but they will not be made available, all of them, unless we have that contract renegotiated.
Hooray for licensing.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. Is the Family History Library, what happened? There we went. Actively obtaining new records and documents? And I'm pretty sure the answer to that is yes.
We average 5,000 new books a month and untold microfilm a month. Yeah, we are every day.
Okay, is there active obtaining of records in Poland and Ukraine currently?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
If
We
you
have just signed, I'll tell you, it's been announced, so this is nothing earth-shattering maybe. We have just signed a big agreement where we're going to be microfilming all the Ukrainian archive records.
all of them?
From the Ukrainian National Archives or whatever.
Oh, so what about the regional ones like, say, Khmelnytsky, which has the Podolsky archive information?
They're working on that. We had to get the main one first, and then they will. But yeah, so we have signed that agreement.
Okay, I'm excited now. If we search in the regular family search area, will it draw from records in the Knowles collection, or do you have to go through the genealogy thing to get
You
there?
have to go through the genealogy. It's completely separate that way.
Oh, now this is a different one. Can family trees be downloaded?
I think so. I've never tried because I don't know how that would look for a family search employee to download its family search tree. But I think so. I think you can save it and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, let me close that part. Does anybody have any other questions? Because that is all the stuff that was already in chat. And if not, then we get to let Todd go back to his family for dinner.
And please use the email.
That's right. There's
I
this.
would hope
like me,
any
I-
questions, whatever, please. And if you have any Rosenbaums or Oasters in San Francisco, memorize the email, please.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions pop up. So thank you so much for this incredibly informative program.
Great information.
And
Oh,
as I
wonderful.
mentioned
Thank you.
earlier, Todd allowed us to record this. So within the next couple of days, it should be posted on the website for everybody to be able to view in their bunny slippers at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you so choose.
Absolutely.
So
thank
thank
you
you
all
all
very,
for
very
coming. And Todd, thank you again for your wonderful knowledge. And
Anytime. Thank
I'm going to go
you.
and close the program.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Hi, all. Happy Purim.
No.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.